Oracle Cloud Procurement. Hi, my name's Scott Walls, and in this video, I'm going to introduce you to the negotiations application in Oracle Cloud. So let's get started. Slide 1. What is the negotiations application in Oracle Cloud ERP? Well, the negotiations application is really a combination of 4 other, or at least 3 other applications. So first, and obviously because it's fairly synonymous, sourcing. Sourcing can initiate what's called deliverables. So those are subsequent tasks related to a discrete date or an offset date from a contract execution. So for example, I'm going to go through a sourcing event and I want a certificate of insurance, and I want that as a deliverable within 30 days of the execution of the related contract. Now, there could also be another application called programs. Programs allows you to link sourcing events together to measure them against, or measure their savings against, predefined organizational objectives, which are just targets. And so you can do that over a frequency of time, for example, quarters. Slide 2, what types and subtypes of negotiations can be created within Oracle Cloud ERP? Well, first is a request for information, or what they call an RFI. This is where I need to know something, probably just in order for me to be able to create what's most often an RFP, at least 99% of the time. We'll talk about that in a second. The second is a request for quote, or RFQ. That's where I know what it is, but I want to know how much that particular or this particular supplier charges for it. Now, akin to the RFI, after I've done an RFI to figure out, let's say, for example, a marketplace, and I want to understand how to price it. One prices it to license the software, the other does it by supplier, and the other does it by catalog. I need to do an RFI to figure out how I can get apples to apples comparison, so I can then release an RFP, a request for them to propose how long, how much, how many. So again, in an RFQ, I already know what it is. Tell me, quote me the price, versus where an RFP, I want you to propose how this project's going to get done. Next, here's something interesting, a non-competitive or sole source. So a lot of people think or assume every negotiation or sourcing event is competitive. Well, sometimes I just want to ensure that the requirements the contract needs can become requirements on the sourcing event, so that I know before I award to you that you're going to be able to meet the requirements for contract. I've even had some clients who will create sourcing templates that are wholeheartedly just aimed at getting you to say you'll do a drug screen if you come on site, or something very specific. Next, you have buy auctions. So that's when you offer your demand. I'm going to have 1,500 laptops. I want you to come bid, but I'm going to use time as a weapon per se, meaning to create pressure and competition. And then the opposite of that, I am actually going to sell or auction things that we have to my suppliers, who could then become, obviously, my customers. An example of that makes a lot of sense is in most state governments, they have an Office of Surplus Property. We did this, we fired up this project. Then at the end of that project, we have all these desks, and we have different things that we want to sell to the public. So we'll use a sell auction to do that. Okay, slide 3, who creates negotiations in Oracle Cloud ERP? Well, the initiators are as follows. First, requesters can initiate a negotiation. That's very common. Then buyers, we talked about programs. So the requester may have a request that becomes because of the rules in the purchasing organization, it becomes a negotiation or sourcing event. But a buyer, as part of a sourcing program, could periodically, quarterly, come and perform a negotiation. Then we have a category manager who may do something similar at a higher level and invoke lots of other buyers to measure against a category-based objective. And then obviously, like we talked about, surplus property. Okay, so this is interesting. Here, how are negotiations created in Oracle Cloud ERP? I wanted to use a little bit of a different graphic to talk about the steps that are created. These steps directly relate to the end-to-end how to create a negotiation in Oracle Cloud free video course I have on Panameer.com. Don't forget to check that out. Here's the steps. First, I'm going to plan my negotiation. Second, I'm going to create and publish that negotiation, which means it's going to be sent out to suppliers. Then those suppliers will accept my negotiation and preview it. Next up, they may or may not respond to that negotiation with a bid. Then I'm going to, or someone is going to monitor all the incoming responses, and then they may request BAFO, a best and final. And then after the negotiation is closed, very important, we're going to go to contract before we award we just closed. We're going to go through the entire contracting process so that we know we've got a winner before we notify everybody else. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to award everybody in the notification, or in the negotiation, hey, thank you for bidding. We've already gone to contract with supplier X. Thank you very much. Next, slide 5. When are negotiations created within the Oracle Cloud ERP procurement process? Let's take a look at that process. So first, we may have a requester using catalogs or smart forms or a punch out to purchase pre-negotiated content. So they fill up their rec, they submit it for approval, goes automatically to a PO, and then goods are sent to desk or dock. Now, what if no pre-negotiated content is found? Well, then that same requester is going to use a non-catalog request to invoke the service of sourcing, what they call purchasing non-negotiated content, in which case there's a whole process of supplier registration. If you're in government, supplier qualification, some pre-purchase contracts, then we may have a negotiation, goes to a purchase contract, out to agreements, etc. So now you obviously see right in the middle, that's where you would do the negotiation, or in particular, the sourcing event. Okay, so that's an introduction to the negotiations application in Oracle Cloud. Have questions? Great, reach out to me by clicking the link below. Want to learn how to create a negotiations transaction in Oracle Cloud? Check out my free online video on Panameer.com. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.